You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Check us out on the web at starwarscommonwealth.com, on iTunes, Facebook, and Twitter, and take your first step into a larger world. Everybody, welcome to episode 89 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. My name is Kyle.
My name is Corey.
No, it's not.
Come on now. I'll start.
Say it now. Say it now. Tell everybody now what it is.
Chop rules with a Z.
There you go. So, how you doing?
Not too bad. Had a bit of an experience today. Decided to, we've been itching to get out on the boat because the weather's just the whole summer's kind of been a bit of a bust, and at least I had that bit of vacation time where really got to take advantage of it there, and we've taken advantage of it as best we can. But it was so sunny today, but it was so windy, and usually I like to go peruse the lake from the pier, kind of, before I actually go on the boat. But this time I just drove straight to the boat, and we're like, yeah, we're doing it. And anyhow, yeah, I got out into the bay, and I was like, ooh, this is weird.
Choppy waters.
The bay's not so bad, but when
you
the
see
bay's...
what I did there? Choppy water? Chop
yeah.
Rules.
Oh, yeah. Chop rules the waves. But, anyway, the bay was, disturbed, and, that's a really bad sign. So then, anyway, we got into the open water finally, and it was, the high seas, man. It was really treacherous. So we just said, forget it, It's not worth it. Just turned back, chilled out in the bay for a bit, and just floated along.
Well, there you go. No sense chancing it.
I saw the Dark Tower on Friday as well, finally.
Well, I've heard not many good things about this movie. In fact, I've heard it's absolutely atrocious.
It's kind of bad. It's not
now, I know
bad.
that if Corey is dumping on something, it has to be repugnant.
Oh, I'm not really dumping on it. I am in the sense that I was expecting so much more. I had read all 7 books. And, we heard about this film being in the works for so long. It was in production, and there was going to be this miniseries and a trilogy, and it's such a vast, epic story. And they condensed it, a lot. What I saw was not at all the books. They took some key elements from the books and, they hearkened to it a bit, but nothing
pales
that's just
in comparison. It, right? Who are these people to think that they can take 7 books and distill it down to one good movie? I feel so bad for the fans of these books who have been waiting 10 years for this to be on screen, and this is the result. I've not seen it. I've not read the books, but
Ron Howard's a producer.
Well, I'm sure the production value is just terrific. But, being a producer, I don't know how much that has to do with writing the script or devising the plot. Producers usually just keep the wheels turning and make things happen.
Well, Stephen King was involved. Either way, I know he wanted to see it done at one point. It's too bad that we just don't get... It's still open-ended as well. I don't know how well... I haven't checked the box office numbers, so...
I think it's over. Total bomb.
It's a shame. Because there's so much potential there. That story is just so... I can see why a production company wouldn't want to tackle it. It's just so out there, that story.
Yeah, well, I know a little bit about it, and I know it's a very broad story. But, geez, to think you can just boil it down to one... I think it's under 2 hours, right?
Oh, yeah, that's another thing, too. It's 1 hour and 35 minutes. But this is what I'll say about it, if you're just going to see a movie, even at that, it flowed at least. I wasn't bored, but I could see that, it just didn't have that really epic feel that I was looking for. But it was still quite good. I'd say, it wasn't horrible anyhow.
All right. Well, Hey, thanks everyone who jumped onto our Powerful Friends program in the first week. It's been, in my mind, a resounding success. So you guys know who you are. Thank you so much. We are absolutely humbled, and we take it very seriously that you guys have forked over. It's a modest sum of money. We get that, but we are truly appreciative of it, and we just hope to be able to do some kind of justice for you and produce something that you'll truly enjoy. And that's all I have to say about that for right now.
No, I'm totally stoked about it as well. Like I'm right on the same page. Like, just the support, it always means so much, and it just gives us the urge to do more and do better,
Well, yeah, I was out camping last week last week I was off on vacation. So just before we left to go camping, I hit publish on our last podcast, episode 88. And I had apprehension about that. I figured, like, for such a big week in the podcast, launching the Patreon and everything, I should be around more to babysit the launch. But I said, hell with it. We've got a good community. I know the response will be good. So I was glad to be proven right. Again, thank you guys. We're going to get cracking on the exclusive stuff starting on Force Friday. That will be when Powerful Friend Fridays will start. That's what we're going to call our exclusive Friday content, Powerful Friends Friday. So be ready for that. And to kick that off, because it is Force Friday, we're going to have our first giveaway for this community. And Corey might want to kick me a little bit, because I think this is something you'd like to have in your collection, if I'm not mistaken.
You are mistaken, sir, because I do indeed have one.
All right, good. So, but why don't you tell everybody what it is that we're giving away?
Yeah, well, this is kind of like, I don't want to say it like this, but it's kind of like the best toy we have for the moment. And it's, we're going to be giving away a 40th anniversary Tusken Raider.
Woo!
Yeah, that was a little rare in the box on the pegs. Didn't stick around too long. I know Bradley had one in his hand at one point, and he was just like, yeah, he sent me a picture, and he was like, oh, I don't really collect, but check this out. I was like, dude, you should have picked that up. But anyhow, I mean, I know some people are still looking for them, and like, I never saw one in stores. The only place I saw it was in a convention, and I had to get my hand on it. Kyle actually got his hands on this one.
Yeah, so I found this one at retail at regular price, and I snapped it up, knowing that I would probably use it as a giveaway on the show at some point, because like I said, way back when, I didn't really care to collect the entire set. I had the pieces that I wanted, and this Tusken Raider, I think would make a nice giveaway at some point. So there you go, everybody. It's going to be the Tusken Raider from the 40th anniversary collection, and that draw will happen on the Sith Disturbers that drops on Force Friday. So be on the lookout for that, and keep your fingers and toes crossed. And again, thank you, everybody. Also happening this weekend, I got to talk to the aforementioned Bradley with Rob Cast on an episode of the TSW Roundtable, which I love listening to and love participating on even more. So look for that in your podcast feeds. That's coming. We had a great old time. And looking forward to hearing the final result of that.
Did Bradley do any singing?
He did not, but he's going to do some singing here on the podcast today. It's
oh yeah,
yeah, baby. It's Bradley's serenade time, and wouldn't you know it, our friends over at the Nerd Room are having a second big week in a row. Happy birthday, Tim! Hope it was a great weekend, and I don't know if Troy was around to help celebrate with you, but I hope you guys were able to raise a few glasses. And hey, all the best, my friend. All the best in this coming year for you. So here's Bradley with his dulcet tones, singing a stirring rendition of Happy Birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, Timothy. Timmy! Happy birthday to you.
And how do you like that, Tim? Happy birthday. That was Bradley from Terrell, Texas, just for you, man. Bradley.
You're the best, Bradley.
You continue to amaze. Thank you for having a birthday, Tim. Otherwise, that wouldn't have happened this week. All right, Corey, have any collecting update you want to share this week?
Nothing huge, anyhow. Did manage to get to the store once this weekend, and it was a toss-up between 1990s Cyclops and Old Man Logan.
So who won out?
Old Man Logan.
Boy.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, there was nothing Star Wars.
Cyclops is a dork. He's such a donkey.
I love that 90s Cyclops, though.
I guess it's a cool action figure, but he's always been a bit of a dork, hasn't he?
Yeah, I haven't read much of the new stuff. I heard, from what I gather anyhow in the new stuff, he kind of went a little Magneto, but...
Yeah, he was a villain for a while, branded as a terrorist. I don't know where it's at now. I'll figure it out at some point, but they also pulled the original teenage, all the original X-Men back from, the 60s and pulled them into the present time. So there's 2 Scotts, there's 2 Beasts, there's 2 Angels, 2 Jeans. They're all over the place. So you get the good Scott and the bad Scott.
Interesting.
Yeah. But then don't you notice that, all the empty pegs now, when you go to Walmart or Toys R Us, there's just so much empty space now, and it's depressing to look at until you think about what's going to be there in 2 weeks from now.
Yeah, I can't believe some of these retailers, like, I'm going to call out Toys R Us in particular. Like,
uh-oh.
Well, I mean, it's their bag. I mean, it's their thing. I mean, you don't want to sell things, don't sell them, but get with the times. Like, look at your competitors, and who do you think you are? Like, you're selling Black Series figures that, like, everybody's pretty much got on half price now for, like, they're still retail. There's some markdown on some stuff, like the really, really stuff that's, like, been sitting, like peg warmers from the beginning that just haven't sold. Oh, those ones you get the big $10 marker off, at Toys R Us. Like the Darth Vader Black Series. They haven't budged on that.
Wow.
They have not budged. They're still at $79 at Toys R Us for that.
No.
Yes. 100%.
Wow. That's foolish. Yeah, holy moly.
I don't know what it's like across Canada, but I know the one in Vaudreuil, it's still $79.
There are places in the US blowing those out for $5.
I heard.
And dude, stacks of them.
I would have bought like 3 or 4 of them, I think, at that point.
Oh, at that price, yeah. Just for posterity. And just to give a few out for fun.
And not even that. Get the unbox.
Absolutely. Would have unboxed.
Play with.
Yeah, for sure. I got a couple things this week while I was off. One thing I'd always been hunting for was the Ahsoka Disney Infinity figure. And I could always find it, but I was never willing to pay the price. I knew they were going to just keep dropping it and dropping it and dropping it. This week, my wife and I were at Walmart doing a bit of shopping, and she came over and said, "How do you feel about this?" Like, she knew I was hunting for it. And she's the best because she'll enable me with this collecting bug sometimes. So she hands me the box, and it would have been marked down from $39.99 to $9.99. Sold.
Dude, do they have any more?
I don't know. I'll ask, but again, that was 4 or 5 days ago now, so I don't know. But
I was watching those ones too, because I told you this story a couple months ago. Remember, I bought that one because I had watched it go, same thing, 39 to 29 to $19.99, and I jumped on it at $19.99. And somehow I either didn't walk out of the store with it because of all the bags that I have, or I didn't pack it in my car or something. But when I got home, it just wasn't there. Damn, being a human with 2 arms. I was quite upset about that. Probably the one moment in your life you wish you were what's his face from Pong Krell with the 4 arms and Dexter's what's the diner. Dexter Jetster, is that his name? Yeah. Yeah, whatever species they are. That's probably the one time in your life you wish you were him. Why, so I can remember? Well, so extra hands to carry around more Star Wars stuff. Oh, dude, I was so upset. But yeah, I definitely want to get my hands on that because I have that's a question I'm gonna have to ask the Nerd Room. I mean, these things are nice on display, but at this point, I still haven't unboxed them yet. Oh, go ahead and do it. I know they were selling for like $2, but yeah, go ahead and do it. They're nice to have at work and stuff like that. I'll be bringing mine to work at some point. I also, like I said, my wife enables me, and she's awesome with this stuff. So we're walking down the curtain section,
And you know how we just repainted our room, which I eventually will outfit with all kinds of awesome Star Wars art that's just sitting on the floor. You've seen it. I still haven't put this stuff up. But I was looking for window coverings. And I saw these nice looking Star Wars curtains. I'm like, man, I wish I could get these. And I wasn't really asking permission or expecting her to give it, but she goes, get them. They're pretty nice. I was like, are you serious? Yeah, I think these are good. Look nice downstairs. Like we're talking about curtains with the name Star Wars on it, and X-Wings and TIE Fighters and Death Stars. Like, we're grown-ups. You realize that, right? This is going to be in our basement living room. You're okay with that? Yes. So we bought them.
I can't believe you asked twice.
I just wanted to be sure, man. You know, people have to come over and look at the way we live and say, grown-ups live here, and these are the curtains they choose? I'm not complaining. I can't wait to put them up. But yeah, again, I got lucky, man. And finally, the last thing I picked up this weekend was the EW covers with all the Bresnabom stuff. I figure that if we're going to use his work as sort of the backbone to a podcast, as we did last week and several other times in the past, the least I can do is actually support the man's work by buying the actual magazine. So I bought the one with Luke and the one with Rey. Don't know what I'm going to do with them. Realistically, they'll probably end up in a box somewhere, but I felt it was important to support Bresnikan. So there you go. That's my collecting update for the weekend.
Yeah, not bad, not bad.
All right, so let's get into the actual Star Wars news. And the aforementioned Anthony Bresnikan wasn't done after carpet bombing Star Wars fandom last week. He left one more parting shot for us in a story about how George Lucas remains in the fold. He's still hanging around, whispering in Kathleen Kennedy's ears, as she says. And mainly what he's concerned about, not concerned about, I don't want to make it sound like he's worried, but the thing that he's sticking around to shed light on, inform about, is anything to do with the Jedi and the Force. So how does that make you feel to know that Uncle George is still, on some level, providing feedback or advice as a consultant?
Well, from what I gathered in the article, the way Kathleen had put it was, it seems like they almost mentioned that like he was calling her and saying like, hey, I got one more thing to tell you. So they could take whatever he says into consideration, which, to be in all honesty, I do like.
Yeah, I mean, how could you not?
No, it's a good thing in the sense that, especially when he's focusing more on, like you said, the Force and the Jedi, that's really interesting.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it, that's the most interesting thing about Star Wars is the Jedi and the Force. How does that work? How do Jedi go about their business? So, well, here's the questions I have about this. So we know that he left under, I guess, pretty acrimonious circumstances a couple years ago, before The Force Awakens came out, just because I guess he felt like he wasn't being listened to, and they had taken what he had done and basically started over. They kept some bits and pieces of his stuff for Episode 7, but largely it's their own path that they blazed. So how much of Lucas's words that he's whispering to Kathleen Kennedy make it to the script and finally to the screen?
And we really have no idea to what point he's actually involved or what he's actually even said. And again, Disney or Lucasfilm doesn't have to really, out of respect, they can say, okay, like, we'll meet with you, we'll listen. Okay, we kind of like your idea, we'll take it into consideration. But, again, like guys like Abrams and all that, I think they respect the fact that Lucas is the godfather and, he is Star Wars in a way and vice versa. So I would think that they would still be willing to take some advice from him and, and who knows, maybe from what I gather, it looks like they have taken some elements of his ideas. So who knows, maybe this part of the story, whatever's happening in regards to the Force and how the Force is being rediscovered and whatnot, maybe that was in George's original plan as well, which, in my opinion, would make the prequel shine in a whole new light, really. If George originally planned for this film to, say, okay, like, wow, we don't even know if this is going to happen, but this is the Jedi. This is what the Jedi were actually meant to be, and this is kind of where they went wrong. And not really their fault per se, but either way, then you can look back at George's work as a whole and say, wow, like, okay, he did realize like that the Jedi were, clouded or
duped,
yeah, too easily duped.
So is this a fluffy way of saying that there's some kind of meddling going on? I mean, I think you could make the case. Meddling's a very bad word. It makes it sound like there's some overlord dictating the script and bending it to their own will. But if George is talking to Kathleen, she must be talking to Ryan or JJ or Gareth or maybe Lord and Miller or Ron Howard and saying, yeah, George actually says this about that. So maybe, tweak that a little bit to make that a thing. Can we say this is a little bit, to some degree, meddling?
A little, I guess, but again, Star Wars is George Lucas's baby. Like, he would know better than anyone, and if it makes sense more to the story, then yeah, like, I would see Kathleen weighing those odds and ends, taking those things into consideration and being like, well, you know what, JJ, maybe you should actually meet with George yourself and, hash this out. Like, he has an idea, he has a preconceived notion on this, and it was pretty interesting. Like, talk to him about it, and maybe you guys can come up with some kind of collaboration,
Kathleen, I just want to talk to you. I don't want to talk to those twerps. Those people you hire, I don't want anything to do with them.
Yeah, they took my story and
they've pooped all over my franchise. Yeah, no, I tend to agree. Whatever George says, I think should still hold a lot of gravitas and should probably, in some form, make an appearance. Maybe not every time. Maybe sometimes somebody else needs to do their own thing in order to make a certain storyline play out. But I think by and large, when George speaks, you listen.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Like, not even so much that, just at least listen to the man, and be grateful in the sense that, like you said, there was, from what we gathered, there was a bit of a falling out. He was, I don't know if he was resentful or, heard a bit that they didn't really take his full story and run with it. So at least the fact that he's willing to still work with them and collaborate it's
great.
It's a sign he either can't let go or, he still really cares.
Yeah, no, I think he obviously cares. But it's also good to have other people talking to George about this stuff, because otherwise, who's left to really dish this stuff out? Who's the next person? And it's got to be Dave Filoni, right? Like, he's the guy that spent, I would think, more time talking about this stuff and putting it into action than anybody else on the face of the earth. So
yeah, Pablo's up there too. Pablo Hidalgo knows this stuff.
Oh yeah, he does. And I don't know Pablo's full history. Maybe he does. Maybe he is a creative writer on top of being almost like a Star Wars historian to a degree, and someone who can document things.
I think he has he's going to have a short story in Blue Milk.
Is that right?
I believe so.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. But as far as putting stuff on screen, it's Filoni, right? He's the next guy.
I would think so.
So I think
he comes up on stage with Lucas right at the beginning of Celebration.
I think as we go along here, I think that is a highly symbolic gesture. I think we'll look back on that someday and go, there's a very strong reason beyond what was happening in that present moment that here's Lucas walking out the next guy. I think you're onto something there. Anyway, let's move on. We have a ton to get to. I'm really excited about today's show. I don't know why. Like, there's just, maybe it's this hot chocolate that's got me all hopped up, but there's a lot of cool stuff we're going to talk about. So Ron Howard and his Instagram account. This guy is trigger happy with this, and it's been pretty damn cool. But this week, he did something that got me and a lot of people worked up, and he posted a picture of, if we were talking about the Death Star, it would be the Death Star gunner helmet on a console, very clearly of Imperial design. But seeing as though this is probably not the Death Star, it's just like anyway, we've all seen the picture. We all know what I'm talking about. It looks a Death Squad commander's helmet. So I wanted to ask you, since this is not the first time we've seen shots of the Empire being hinted at, whether it's in an Instagram shot or behind the scenes footage, the pirated stuff, like exactly how big a role is the Empire going to be in this movie? Because I initially thought that maybe it'd be part of a prologue where Han escapes the Academy and then he's either chased throughout the movie by a Callus type or a Sinjir from Aftermath type, the loyalty officer. But I felt maybe the Empire could also be in the background. But it seems like it's going to be a bigger deal. What's your impression after this?
I don't necessarily know that if it makes it a real bigger deal, but I'm gonna just harken back to the beginning of what you said, and just his participation and enthusiasm, like you said, his trigger finger, is being trigger happy it's been a real blessing to this movie. Super happy for that. Like, he seems like he's having a blast.
Yeah. Well, you know what he said? He said something to the effect that when George was shooting American Graffiti, and of course Ron Howard was the lead in that, and he's asking, they're talking about each other's future projects, and George is talking about Star Wars in its like earliest phases. Imagine being Ron Howard, to be able to say that, yeah, I had a face-to-face with George, who I'm very good friends with, by the way, and he bounced Star Wars off me before Star Wars was even a thing. Imagine being able to say that.
Yeah, there's not many people who could really say that.
No, God no. But what a thing.
OP1.
I don't know if you just titled the episode, but I'm writing that down. OP1. There you go. All right, so back to his Instagram account and this Imperial thing.
I think the Empire is going to be quite involved.
It looks that way,
what
right?
You said, yeah. I mean, they got to be kind of like, they're an ever-present danger throughout the entire galaxy. Like, there has to be that looming presence. But I like what you said in the sense that it could be background presence. I don't want them to be at the forefront of this movie, like that they have to break into or get whatever out of an Imperial facility. But we do want to sense the fact that they are out there, the Empire, and that they are a factor in whatever they're dealing with. Because, I mean, think about it. Possibility that Han was in the Academy. That harkens back to the old Legends EU stuff. Then we got Chewie possibly in slavery. Them being smugglers, scoundrels. Lots of stuff that can get them in trouble here. I really just think that they're at one point in their mission, they're going to have an encounter with the Empire, but I don't see the Empire necessarily being the main baddie in this film. Like, I want them to be like the variable that can say like, oh man, like we'll never get past the Empire and doing this, but once we get past, we can get to our real mission. And I've said that many times before, and I really think it's going to go down that route. I don't want them to be another Empire versus kind of like Han Solo rebellion. Yeah,
I mean, he's like, in A New Hope, Han is clearly apprehensive of the Empire. Like, he's willing to charge Luke and Obi-Wan extra because of Imperial entanglements. So obviously, he's been boarded before, so he's very wary of the Empire. We're probably going to get an idea as to why he feels that way beyond the obvious, because I'm a smuggler and I don't want anything to do with the authorities. I think we'll get firsthand evidence of why he doesn't want anything to do with the Empire. But yeah, I originally thought that, we don't need the Empire in this to such a great degree. But then, as we go down the line here, maybe I'm just talking myself into it. But the Empire, this is going to be the Empire, I think, at the height of its power. They're going to have their hands into everything, their eyes everywhere, their ears everywhere. So it stands to reason that anybody who's a smuggler might be having a real tough go in this film. And, the rebellion is present, obviously, but not to the point that it is in Rebels or in Rogue One, and definitely not in the original trilogy.
Yeah, not even like because in Rebels is really what rallies all these splinter cells together to form an actual rebellion.
Right. So, what's the Empire's big deal at that point? Are smugglers their big concern, or crime lords their big concern?
Well, everything. They just don't like it when anyone. If you're looking at me funny, come with me, son.
Yeah. The propaganda book did a good job of highlighting that. Hey, if you had some mean bumper stickers on your car, you're going to jail. But then, you know what? There's the ever-present angle, and let's face it, it's part of this. Merchandising. Say it, Corey.
Merchandising.
There you go. So let's
Spaceballs the flamethrower.
Yeah, that's part of this. Let's not kid ourselves. It's one thing to create a bunch of new action figures of these thugs, crime lords, or bounty hunters, but I think it's probably easier and, in the end, more profitable to hammer out some new Imperial designs that everybody knows and can identify with right away, and build these neat extensions of our already existing collection. So maybe we'll get new TIE fighters or troop transports or variations of vehicles that we already know very well that will fit right into our collection that we just have to have. I
want more smugglers and bounty hunters and scoundrels.
Yeah, I would have thought this would have been a good movie to add some individuality, some really unique characters. But it seems like, and they still might. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to be a one-dimensional film, Han versus the Empire.
Well, let me ask you a quick question. Like, this is the way I see it. I think they're going to have a large role. We're going to sense their presence in a big way. But the climax of the film, in my opinion, for the moment, is not going to involve like Han versus the Empire. It's going to be a different story at that point. Like, the Empire will have played their role in the film. They'll have served their purpose, and the story's moved on at that point. But who knows? I may be completely wrong.
Yeah, I mean, it would be really nice to see a trailer at some point, Ron. Anyway, yeah, that's all I've really got to say about Ron Howard and this Death Squad gunner hat. Let's park that for now. I'm sure this time next week we'll be talking about another snap that he's put out there. But let's plow ahead into where we're probably going to sit and spin our wheels for the next, I feel like 3 hours easy. But the Obi-Wan movie is apparently moving ahead. Now, I'll say this up front. We're waiting on official confirmation from Lucasfilm. But the Hollywood Reporter or Variety, or one of these reputable news sources, reported that Stephen Daldry, he's done Billy Elliot, The Hours, The Reader, The Crown, which was a Netflix series. So I don't know him very well, but he seems to be very well respected and is the guy that's in line to direct the Obi-Wan movie. So what was your initial thought when this story came out? Was this sort of a bomb for you, or was this like, yeah, we know?
Definitely, I don't want to be a pessimist. I don't know. I don't want to look at this from the wrong angle, but the words I want to use are anticlimactic. Like, Lucasfilm's got to get their stuff together. I don't know, man. Like, they have all these ample recent opportunities to drop a bomb on fandom and be like, boom, there you go. And now it's just some reporter, like, dropping some news story that, again, it's not confirmed, and to me it won't be confirmed till I hear it from their mouths. So I still take it with a grain of salt, although it does seem, like you said, these are pretty hefty newspapers, or...
Yeah, they're good sources. I'd be surprised if this didn't pan out. Now, I guess the question is, I've heard that Stephen Daldry is the leak. Daltrey, sorry. I've heard that he is the leak. That he's the one telling everybody that, yeah, I'm doing it. Now, my thought there is, dude, if this is your idea of some kind of pressure tactic, that you're going to force Lucasfilm's hand into announcing this quickly, just to make sure that they have no other choice but to confirm you, that can blow up in your face, sir. I would not play that game of Russian roulette with Lucasfilm. Not with what's going on or what has gone on in recent months, especially with the standalones. So yeah, a grain of salt indeed. But for now, let's just go with it. Let's say that this is the movie that's in production, pre-production, I'll say. What do you think? I mean, let's bat around again. We've done this in the past, but let's take a second swipe at this now. What could this movie be about? I know that's a very broad question. Let me narrow it down for you some more. Let's start with a villain. Who do you think a villain could be in this movie?
Maul would have been interesting, but I mean that story's been told.
That's done with, right? That's over. And yes, Maul would have been the natural and compelling story.
Let's take it one step back a bit for a second, Kyle. Like, obviously, we're going with the Ewan McGregor Obi-Wan. Like, a lot of people on Twitter fandom right now, I've heard them saying, hey, I wouldn't mind seeing something, Clone Wars or something like that, or pre-Clone Wars. And I don't know. I am like, okay, that's already been done. Like, no, it's quite evident that if anybody's doing it, it's Ewan McGregor, in my opinion.
The only way it's not Ewan McGregor is if he reads the tea leaves or takes fandom's temperature and goes, you know what? Everybody wants this. Nobody will accept anybody but me. Hey, Kathleen, I'll do this for $50 million. If he makes some sort of outrageous demand, which I don't know Ewan McGregor, I don't think he would do something like that, but he could. I don't know him. If he did do something like that, I think she would say, "Are you willing to negotiate, Ewan?" And if he still sticks with some absurd demand, 30 million, 40 million, I think at that point, then you get somebody other than Ewan McGregor to portray Obi-Wan. But I mean, what is that, a 1% chance? So yeah, let's just move ahead with Ewan McGregor and be done with it.
Yeah, so it's that period of Star Wars. Villains wise, like I said, Maul's gone. Who do we have on Tatooine that we know of? Possible villains. We got Jabba. Jabba's crew. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of bad dudes there. We've got Tusken Raiders, a lot of scum and villainy hanging around Mos Eisley.
I mean, but these are buzzing flies to Obi-Wan, right?
Of course.
Like, these are not, this is not somebody you put Obi-Wan up against.
No, I would honestly like to see, I mean, we might talk about this a bit later as well, but this makes the most sense to me as well. Someone's hot on his trail. Someone's got a sniff of the Kenobi man, Someone's a bounty hunter is after him. A smart one at that.
Are you thinking what I'm thinking?
Probably. It's very possible.
Are you stealing my take?
I mean, if it's your take, I mean, I like it the best. I mean, I'm thinking about it like, a Mad Max style kind of deal. I think Matt Keegan had sent something along those lines. Like something, a bounty hunter, like, because again, like, you got to think about it. Like, there's so much fodder here for him. A lot of people say like it should be off world and whatever, but in my opinion, again, that's not happening. It can't happen. Like the Rebels Twin Sons kind of, reiterates that fact, is that he's there for the long run. He's not taking any chances. No matter what it is, I think Kenobi's going to be like, I am staying here, and that's that.
I used to, by and large, I do think that. I think it would take the biggest of reasons to get Obi-Wan off Tatooine. And I don't know that I'm smart enough to come up with a good reason for it. Maybe someone else will take a swing at that. But for me, like the way I've envisioned this movie is sort of a Lawrence of Arabia type thing, where it's a 3-hour movie. It's Obi-Wan in the desert the whole time. It's the cinematography would be unbelievable. But yes, I mean, there would be an adversary for Obi-Wan, and I think you were hewing pretty close to the bone here. My adversary for Obi-Wan in this flick would be Cad Bane.
Yeah, that would be really sweet. They already have a bit of a rivalry, somewhat.
Yeah, I mean, you got to pick somebody. you got to pick somebody who presents a challenge. And Cad Bane is crafty. He's tough, and he's given Obi-Wan fits in the past. And now with Obi-Wan's presumably declining skill set at this, at whatever, depending on what age they set this at, he could be, like you said, Cad Bane could somehow catch a sniff, or pick up on a trail that he's found Kenobi and he's going to go after him. He works for himself, right? He doesn't have to report to anybody that he's found Kenobi. Maybe he just thinks, I'm going to go there and off him, or I'm going to bring him in to the Empire and collect a huge ransom. I mean, the Empire probably suspects Kenobi dead anyway, but imagine Cad Bane's what's going on in his mind, saying, I'll bring in Obi-Wan Kenobi in cuffs. And imagine the hero the Empire will make me. Imagine the amount of money they'll pay me. So who else could it be? It could be Inquisitors, right? And I've argued in the past that it couldn't be. It couldn't be an Inquisitor. Look what Ahsoka did to 2 Inquisitors. They couldn't touch her. Like, what would Obi-Wan do to these guys, even with a declining skill set? Like, he'd barely blink and lop both of their heads off. Right.
It was a different story for Ahsoka, though. Even in Twilight of the Apprentice, like, there was three Jedi plus Maul versus 3 Inquisitors, and well,
Maul took out all 3 Inquisitors just like that.
Pretty much, but yeah, the Ahsoka didn't really, the fight was a lot more fair there, and it's not like I guess it's all circumstantial in a way,
Yeah, you can't draw direct lines like that. Well, if this person beat those 2 people, then that person should be able to... Yeah, no, that doesn't work. But I would think that... Well, look, first of all, Inquisitors work for Vader and or the Emperor. And if they somehow learned that Kenobi was on Tatooine, I'm sure they're under the strictest of orders. If you find Kenobi, first thing you do is you call me. Don't go try and take out Kenobi. If you find him, he's mine, you call me. And I have no doubt that Vader would go running, even to Tatooine, to take out Kenobi. And so, yeah, I don't know that it can be an Inquisitor or plural. Maybe plural. We've yet to meet, the second, third, and fourth Inquisitors? We've met, 5th, 6th, 7th? Or 6th, 7th, 8th?
5th brother, 7th sister, and 8th brother. And then the 6th was in the Ahsoka novel?
Correct, you're right. So we still have yet to meet 2, 3, and 4. So maybe those 3 are dispatched or somehow catch on to Obi-Wan and try and take him on themselves. But still, I have to imagine that those 3 would pick up the phone, call Darth Vader and be like, dude, we found Kenobi. Like, I just can't see Inquisitors being a part of this and not alerting Vader. Because the whole thing with Obi-Wan is that he cannot take any risks that would risk exposing him. It's not only surviving, but his mission, right?
Well, I think Tatooine might prove difficult for communications, I would think. Possible sandstorms, very far. I think it's in the outer reaches, it's in the outer rim. So maybe communication's not exactly an option for them when they venture that far out. Unless his ship is close enough or whatever,
Well, didn't Maul send transmissions to Palpatine on Coruscant in the Phantom Menace? I don't know that they did, but certainly transmissions went from Naboo to Tatooine. And I know I don't think those 2 planets are super far apart, but I don't think Naboo is an Outer Rim world. Or is it? I don't know. I don't think so.
No, but that could be explained still.
I guess you could. And also there's now the plausibility of Kenobi being on the Barash vow. You could plausibly make that case that he's taken this vow and he's not getting involved with anything anywhere other than watching over Luke.
Oh, he wants to bring Luke back into the fold. That's pretty clear. Like, he's just waiting. He knows the wills of the Force are one day gonna grant him his opening, and Luke's gonna kind of fall into his lap.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm sticking with Cad Bane. Because I think something I've gotten on in the last little while is you take this Han Solo movie, and we've heard it's going to have some like a Western vibe to a degree. The Kenobi movie could also very well do that. And how cool would it be to have sort of a mano-a-mano duel out in the desert just between Kenobi and Bane? And that way you can put in some action, tie up this loose end, get these two enemies back together. And yet you would, like, assuming they do this in isolation, Obi-Wan doesn't have to worry about being exposed. As long as he finishes off Cad Bane, his secret will remain safe.
No, I 100% agree with you there. I think it's really interesting what you just said, because I have that in my notes as well. The whole Western aspect, we've heard that quite a few times now in reference to the Han Solo movie. So are they really going to want to make two Westerns back to back? Yes, like you said, they could. And I mean, being on a sand planet, it could really go that way. Another way of looking at it is, I've heard other like fan theories kind of saying it's about protecting a homestead where, like you said, Obi-Wan cannot use his powers. Team up with Owen Lars, kind of. Owen knows, like, you got to use your powers. And he's like, I can't, like, I just can't. Like, leave me alone. And people die as a result. Hence the hatred kind of between them. The crazy old hermit, the crazy old wizard.
Yeah, well, we've seen it in the Star Wars comic, right? It's in Legends ones, in the Visionary book, where Obi-Wan fights Robo-Maul. You can tell that Owen already has a serious hate-on for Obi-Wan. And I think one of the, first breakaway comics that highlighted Obi-Wan's life on Tatooine, he and Owen get into it again. And it's Owen saying, I'll protect him even from you. Like, get out of here. Stay away from Luke. Leave him alone. You asked me to protect him, and I'm going to do that. But just get out of his life. You've caused the Skywalkers enough problems. Get out. So I think we'd have to see that.
I always found that, well, there's something to that, because look at Return of the Sith, or Revenge of the Sith, sorry. You see the way that movie ends, it's bitter and all that, but it's the handing off of Luke, and, it's not like he's like, all right, now get out of here, Kenobi. Like, he's happy. He's like, dude, you're giving me my wife, something to love and look forward to. And
do you think Obi-Wan called in advance to say, guys, you're not going to believe this, but you're going to be parents?
Well, he is a relative. So you're the next of kin.
Like, at least a courtesy call, right? Like, it
I don't think
didn't
he risked
look
it.
like he dropped in unexpected. They seemed to be pretty welcoming.
Aware.
Oh, yeah, there he is. All right, bye.
But again, like, it's all happy and merry, and I mean, that's kind of a blessed thing. So what went wrong? And that I think that's subject matter for this film. I think there's room for that in this film somehow, that, you could see the hatred between Owen's hatred toward Obi-Wan growing, or why he thinks that he's some kind of crazy old wizard.
Yeah. That would be part of it. The rift in that relationship would be part of it. What else would be part of it is Qui-Gon as a Force ghost, helping Kenobi figure out the secret. That would certainly be a part of it too.
Also possible, a lot of people have said this kind of as well, that, this being the standalone, it could harken back to Rey being a Kenobi.
Yeah, shoehorning in a relationship with, oh God, I don't know. Yeah,
I'm
not
for it, but
it is possible.
Again, if anything, well, they might shoehorn in some kind of romance.
Okay, let me test your memory here. Something I've talked about a long time ago, early days of the podcast. There's a moment missing in canon, a big one, concerning Obi-Wan. And that would have to be a part of this movie. You couldn't put that in a comic or in an animated series or in a novel. You couldn't do it. It doesn't do it justice. Do you know what I'm getting at? You don't, do you?
No.
The moment where Obi-Wan finds out that Vader survived, someone's got to tell him this. I don't want Obi-Wan to find out because he picked up the newspaper one day and read that this Imperial henchman named Darth Vader has been running amok through the galaxy, and he rolls up the paper and just starts beating his sofa with it out of rage. That would be so anticlimactic. I want somebody close to Obi-Wan to sit him down and say, it's been a long time since we've spoken. There are some things we need to talk about. And the first thing on the docket here is Anakin lived. Darth Vader, that's him. And I know Ewan McGregor could just knock that out of the park. An extension of the "You Are My Brother" scene, playing that out years later, just going, oh man, did I ever screw up, just to hear that. And I would love for somehow someone,
you'd get another no.
Yeah, maybe not that corny, but just to have Obi-Wan demonstrate pure heartbreak and regret and failure. And I think Qui-Gon could probably deliver that news, because I guess as a Force ghost, you're probably privy to all knowledge, right? You probably know what's going on everywhere. But
or it could even be his main adversary too. Like that could be, if you said take it Cad Bane as being the main villain in this, that could be Cad Bane's ace up his sleeve, right? Just throw that at him at the last minute or whatever in the middle of battle and just, kind of take him out.
Yeah.
Take him out by the legs,
no,
right?
I never
It's gonna
considered
take the
that,
wind
but
right
yeah,
out of him.
that could be like the sand in the eye moment.
Exactly.
But I'm thinking somebody else. I'm thinking Ahsoka.
Ooh.
She's part of the.
They gotta do something for Ahsoka. God.
Well, of course, absolutely. I mean, we'll talk about Ahsoka more later in the show, but there's got to be a moment in canon for these two, because we know in the Ahsoka novel that Bail he chose not to tell Ahsoka about Kenobi. He omitted that information on purpose. Does he at some point down the line decide maybe I should tell her? Maybe she does need to know, just in case. Can Ahsoka figure it out? Well, she's clever. If anything, she could probably figure it out on her own. Anyway, that's something for creatives to figure out. But wouldn't it be nice to see Anakin's former master and his former apprentice sitting around by a campfire, Corey, and she breaks the news to him that, you know what, that maybe that doesn't work. Because she only finds out really close to A New Hope.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. It falls apart. Damn it.
Yeah. No, that's true. That moment in Rebels where the first time she faints.
Yeah,
she thinks that maybe
that's
him, and then
too close to A New Hope, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it could happen, maybe, but it seems like.
Hey, who knows? Maybe it's like her return from Twilight.
Yeah, maybe, but again, that's
new and
placing this
approved
movie
Ahsoka.
really close to A New Hope.
Yeah, Bendu Ahsoka.
Maybe I don't know if they would park this movie so close to A New Hope. All right, so we've spoken about Owen and Beru. They'd have to be a part of this. I'm sure Joel Edgerton has been almost begging for this movie to happen so he can get his role back. Bonnie Peace, I have no doubt would also hop on board.
I think they would recast that role, to be honest. But
She may have. Well, I mean, she's still not old. She's probably in her 30s. I thought she was badly cast to begin with. She was way too young.
And that leads me back to another question that I have for you, Kyle. I know you've said this before, and I'm pretty sure you're going to say the same thing, but this movie, in your opinion, has no room for Luke, correct?
Well, now that they've crossed that bridge in Twin Sons, I don't know. There's no role for Luke. You can mention him. Maybe you see him in a passing shot, but we don't air quotes, meet him. We don't see Luke flying through Beggar's Canyon. We don't see a side adventure with Luke. No.
I'd like to see something along the lines of, I don't want to see Luke as a main star, like you said, but I want to see the ever-present danger on Tatooine for Luke. Like, we already know it's quite a dangerous place, but I want to up the ante. I want to know that there's more than just Tusken Raiders and the Sarlacc pit. Like, Obi-Wan's got his hands full with Luke. I want to say it that way, you know, like, kind of watching over him, being like, oh my god, like, you kind of be almost behind the scenes, like,
yeah, I know,
protecting him, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they're, you know, this being Kenobi's story and that being his mission, we need to see him in that mission, and it can't be just him sitting in the sand for days on end, going, yeah, everything looks good over there. No threats here.
It's got to be stressful for him. Like, I almost see it almost like a spy film too, in a way. Like, picture him when he's like lurking around town, like almost from a paranoid sense of, like a paranoid point of view, kind of, where he's in town and like he sees someone and he kind of like turns his face a bit, like doesn't want to be seen. Like, he's got to be one step ahead of everyone. He can't take any chances, you know, of being recognized. And I'm sure there's going to be all kinds of close calls, you know. Like, he has to be like the Batman of the Star Wars universe.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit like that. Now, I think in the Ahsoka novel as well, you know, the Inquisitors are kind of dispatched to ferret out Force sensitives, right? So maybe you know, they detect Luke. They sense there's some Force something or other going on Tatooine. Let's go check that out. And maybe then the Inquisitors, totally unaware of Kenobi, start getting too close to Luke that way. And that's how Kenobi gets involved. And, you know, maybe he's smart. He takes out their ship before he engages them, so they can't radio back to Vader to say, we found him.
Yeah, that'd be a move.
All right, so I mean, we're going to return to this, I'm sure, time and time again over the next little while. But I hope the next step is that Lucasfilm confirms this sooner than later. If Stephen Daldry, whatever his name is, if he's truly the guy, and the cat's out of the bag, then, you know, if you're Lucasfilm, just do it. Don't wait until, you know, the cycle for A New Hope, for The Last Jedi starts heating up. Just get it out of the way.
Well, it seems like it's already done. But who knows? Maybe it was even, if this guy, Stephen, what's his name again? Stephen?
So let's just call him Stevie D.
Stevie D. If he's actually involved and he did kind of drop the news or let it leak, it's either a really bad thing which they really frown upon in non-disclosure agreements, but maybe it's them saying, you know, maybe throw this out there a bit and we'll see test the waters, you know? It seems a bit conspiracy theory-ish, but...
Well, hey, Star Wars is filled with nothing if not tinfoil hat wearing fans, so no problem with that as far as I'm concerned.
But it still did seem anticlimactic, bottom line for me. Like, I'm just like, okay, like, it seems like confirmation, but I'm still not, like, I've been hearing this for so long now, you know, like, what, if this is what's going on, and Lucas lost the ability to be able to drop it, like, I'm kind of like, you know, that's a leak you should have plugged.
Yeah. Hey, listen, one of the jokes was, yeah, okay, fine, Stevie D's in line? That just means he's not going to direct the movie. They'll replace him. Anyway, so just to wrap up quickly. So in the same reports claiming that this movie's in production, we've also been told that Yoda, Boba Fett, and Jabba movies are going ahead, which may or may not be true. But yeah, Yoda and Boba Fett, those are kind of layups. As much as I don't need them and don't really want to see them, and we'll come back to that another time. A Jabba movie, I could totally see a Netflix Tales from Jabba's Palace doing really well, and covering some really wacky ground in Star Wars. But in no way do I want a Jabba movie. Really, like, do you want that?
Oh no, that doesn't make any sense, really.
No, not at all. I don't see any way you put a Jabba movie on screen. I just don't get it. So,
I like what you said, like, it's kind of fits on TV and Netflix, like Underground, Tales from the Underground, whatever, you know?
well, the Tales from Jabba's Palace EU book, the one that came out, what?
I read it. It was super good.
It's
I
really
actually
good.
liked
And
it.
it works really good as a anthology of short stories about the characters that we see in mostly Return of the Jedi. But
Imagine doing that as a film. Because a lot of that book did work as a cohesive unit in the long run. You know, a lot of the stories, even though I can't remember if they were different authors or not, but they did a lot of the stories intermingled with one another, and it was like the palace was eating itself from the inside out, and its eventual demise was inevitable.
well, I was thinking of those stories while, you know, thinking about this topic for the show, and that's why I thought like that would translate super well to Netflix or HBO or whatever, maybe that new Disney streaming service that they're cooking up. But as a 2-hour movie, like there's no point to that in my mind.
Like, have you ever seen Four Rooms?
Oh boy. Years ago when it first came out, and I don't think I was into it, so I didn't really pay attention.
Yeah, either way, it's just the same kind of premise. You got one character, the bellboy, who carries the story forward, and it's a movie about one hotel, but 4 different rooms, and each room is done by a different director, and it's a completely different story unto itself. Everything comes kind of full circle, and anyway, great movie.
All right, so I'm sure, again, like everything else, we'll come back to it at some point in the future. Lastly, in the Star Wars news, Adam Driver gave an interview, and he's teasing an unexpected arc for Kylo Ren. And this will take 2 seconds for me. Like, I don't have a ton to say about it, really. I guess your mileage and everybody else's out there mileage will entirely depend on what you define as unexpected in Star Wars. So for my money, like, redemption is a totally expected thing. So I'm not sure what he's getting at. What could be so unexpected for Kylo Ren? Because, again, for me, like, if they redeemed him, that's not unexpected. What do you think?
I think it is a little unexpected at this point, especially when we've heard how he's gone fully dark, and I would expect, I think, his redemption in this saga. I've said it many times before that I'm totally 100% okay with that. I think the probability for that is more than 50. I think it's like 60-40 at least. But for this film, it would be a little unexpected. I would think it would have happened in episode 9. But if it does happen in this film, it'd be pretty cool, I guess. It would be unexpected for me anyhow. But maybe the only other thing I could really think of is that maybe he has some kind of truth bomb lined up for Luke, and we find out possibly another reason as to why he's turned to the dark side that kind of almost makes sense a bit.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, again, I know Rian Johnson is a very shifty, clever writer. I'm convinced that whatever he's got for Kylo Ren is not something I'm thinking about. Like, I think it's going to go away from the fate of Kylo Ren is beyond just I'm not going to say the gray, the middle, but I also don't think it's as simple as redemption or straight down the dark side path. I think there's something else at play. I think when he says unexpected, I think Adam Driver knows enough about Star Wars that unexpected is definitely going to be unexpected. But I can't offer you any theories on what that could be at this point. I just don't know enough about his role in episode 8.
The only other shocker thing I got written down here is at the end of the film, it's him and Rey. Not shipping, but, like, partnered up.
Yeah, maybe. Well, we've been told that these two somehow are linked, right? Kylo and Rey are somehow intertwined a little bit together. So, are they going to partner up? to defeat Snoke or defeat some other evil entity? Maybe. I had a bit of a wacky theory on my appearance on TSW Roundtable today, so I'm not going to pull the rug out from under that show's feet. So anybody who wants to hear my crazy thought can listen in when that drops.
For sure. But again, like, picture this. Rey and Kylo and Luke with Snoke by the end of episode 8, and Luke, willingly going with Snoke and still aiming to end the Jedi.
Yeah. Yep. There you go. Something like that. Anyway, let's take a break. It's going to be time for the Binary Sunset section of the show. We have a bunch of questions, and all of them awesome ones this week. So I'm looking forward to answering those. We're going to step away for just a second. We'll do some magic pixie dust stuff in the post-editing suite, and the next voice you hear will be that of Ads and a couple of his Padawans.
Hello chaps, hope you're both well. A couple of quick questions this week, and for the first question I've got a couple of helpers. So Charlie, who is your favourite ever Star Wars character?
Well, what it is really is, it's going to have to be Yoda, because he's the legend.
Thank you, Charlie. And Sebastian, who's your favourite ever Star Wars character?
Well, it's going to be maybe Luke Skywalker, because he has a brilliant lightsaber and he, fights Darth Vader really well.
Thank you very much. So for me, my favourite Star Wars character is R2-D2, because, in Corey's words, I think he's the most iconic. And my second question, a bit of a fun one. If you were a Star Wars toy, which 3 accessories would you have in the box with you? And this is you as the toy, not a Star Wars character. Okay, so I look forward to listening. It's bye from me, and it's bye from
Me.
And it's bye from
Me.
bye.
Bye. Bye.
There goes Ads and his 2 Padawans, Charlie and Sebastian. Guys, it was so awesome to hear from you. Thanks for taking part, and it's great to hear the younger generation as part of the show. I'm actually quite honored. Welcome, Charlie and Sebastian. And you know what, Charlie? James would agree with you. Yoda is a fine choice as favorite character. One of the best. And how can you go wrong with Yoda? And Sebastian, no one's going to argue with you about Luke. He fights Vader super well. You are totally right, young man. Good on you for choosing Luke. Those are 2 great choices, guys. And even Dad, with his choice of R2-D2 as his favorite character. I mean, it just goes to show how many awesome characters there are in Star Wars.
Yeah, no one braver than R2.
Brave or crazy, I don't know. But Corey, who is your favorite all-time character in Star Wars?
It's funny. I was actually thinking about that not too long ago as a topic for Sith Disturbers coming up. Because there's so many new characters in canon that I'm absolutely in love with and adore right now. I can't say that they're my favorite characters, but gotta give them a quick shout out. Like characters like Hondo, Kallus is pretty up there. Who else? We got Cad Bane, Ahsoka. Ahsoka is very high up there.
Yep.
I'm gonna give a big shout out to the entire, and this is in triple capital letters, or triple exclamation mark, sorry, but all caps. The entire Ghost crew. I adore every character of that crew, like hard. Like I really love them.
All right.
But I think my
wait, is that some kind of loophole where you love so many people right near the top, but you're gonna slip in somebody else just a little bit higher?
Well, yeah. I mean that's the thing. That's that's kind of my point, is that I almost feel guilty, like not choosing one of the original Legends guys, but in my heart of hearts, I think it's Han Solo. It's a fluid question. Like, it's something that's probably going to change over the years, and it has over the years. Like, I know at one point it was Luke, and maybe at one point it was Yoda, and R2, and who knows, maybe even Anakin at one point. Like, it continually changes, and it's one that I bat back and forth in my own head quite often. But I think it always boils down to Han Solo in the sense that, you know, it's someone we can all kind of relate to. Or not necessarily, but it's someone you always...
Well, he was the guy you wanted to be.
Yeah, exactly. And he was a nice guy in the end, too. Like, he took his responsibilities on by the end, and he manned up big time.
Yeah, the first time we meet Han the scoundrel, he's a pretty selfish guy. You could tell somewhere under there is a heart of gold, but on the surface, what we see is sarcasm and snark and selfishness. And the guy we see at the end, he's maybe gone back to his scoundrelly ways a little bit, but we know at this point the jig is up. Han Solo is a good guy. I wonder what the standalone movie is going to do to alter our thoughts, either reinforce them or change them. But yeah, I mean, Han Solo is as good a pick as any. I will not stray too far from that. So Charlie, Sebastian, and Ads, if you've listened long enough, you know the answer to my question. My favorite character, and he's been my favorite character, I would say for at least 20 years, maybe 25 years. He's been tops. It's Chewie. I don't know why. I can't understand a word out of his mouth. I think I know what he's saying. But there's something compelling to me about this oversized walking carpet. He's adorable. He's fuzzy. He gives you great big hugs one moment, and he can toss stormtroopers around like K2SO in the next moment. He thinks with his stomach, which is something he and I have in common a lot. Yeah, it's Chewie. It's the sidekick, the ferocious sidekick, the loyal friend. I love Chewie, and it hasn't changed in 25 years. I don't see how that's going to change at any point in the future. It could, I guess. But yeah, I just have all kinds of love for that Wookiee. I'd fight Maz for him.
You can't go wrong with that.
So there you go, boys. That is my question. That's the answer to my question, and then that's our answers to that question. And for the second question, Corey, if you were an action figure, notice you're you. So you picture you yourself. You can be a Black Series or a 3 3/4, whatever you choose. But what are the 3 accessories that you come with? You're not a Star Wars character. You're you.
I gotcha.
So I have 3 suggestions for you. If you, I want to see how close I can get. I'm gonna loophole this, but you come with a Tim Hortons coffee cup. You come with a case of beer, and you come with about 20 pairs of shoes.
I like the shoes part, but you were kind of close. I mean, yeah, there's no denying. I definitely come with a 6-pack. Definitely, it's there. My second accessory was a hockey stick.
When was the last time you played a game of hockey?
Oof. Probably at least over 1.5 years. But I get out there in the street with my son, pretty often. I'd say often, maybe once a week.
All right, so the trifecta. The ultimate Canadian trifecta. You've got a Tim Hortons coffee, a hockey stick, and a case of beer.
That's pretty sweet.
That makes you a total hoser, eh? Take off. Okay. So what did you list your 3?
No, I'm missing my third. My third was really a toss-up. Like, I wanted to get Trigger along with me, but that's really a sidekick and not an accessory, so I'll acknowledge him in that sense.
But he's with me. That's legit.
No, he's not an accessory.
Come on, Chewie's getting a Porg in his figure.
I don't know if that's an accessory. It's a Porg.
Well, we're not going to accessorize living beings?
Nah. So it's a toss-up between either, I guess, I want this, so it's either a lasso or a towel. But a towel is
A lasso?
I want the lasso. I'd just love to have that in my toy. I think it'd be really cool. I could have a captain's hat as well. That's up there. That was one of my ideas. But I think my final decision was towel. And maybe Charlie and Sebastian, if their father, who's a great man, will possibly maybe read a book to them when they're a little older called The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. And one tidbit any hitchhiker going throughout the galaxy needs to know is supposedly if you got a towel, should be all right.
All right then. Okay, there's an aside for you. Do you remember my lazy stick?
Is it something you can grab things with?
No. It was when I had my waterbed, and I would tend not to want to get out of it. It was heated. It was just the most glorious thing, and it was one of those waterbeds that it had no waves. So it still had like the softness and the warm embrace of a waterbed, but it wasn't jiggly like laying on Homer Simpson's belly. So I had this lazy stick in my room, and it was essentially a broom handle that I had cobbled together with a couple other things, and I could reach clear across my bedroom and hit the light switch. And I could reach over because my TV had no remote. I could turn the TV on, turn on the light, turn off the light, turn on the radio. I could control everything with this lazy stick. It was glorious. So that would be my first accessory. I haven't seen that stick in years. I miss it dearly. Although now I would use it to poke my children and tell them to go get me, go turn the light on, go turn the TV on, go get me my beer. The second thing, I'd come with a sweet pair of headphones. I'm fighting it badly. It's an addiction to headphones, which sounds weird. Like, aren't headphones the same, you dummy? Why would you do that? No. They all have their different sound signatures, and some look different, and there's so many good looking headphones out there and great sounding ones. And because I have such crazy access to them, I want them all. So I would put one of those Master and Dynamic headphones, I think, would be a part of my action figure set. And lastly, I would have a dog in it. Just like Snake Eyes has Timber, I would have a dog as a part of my set. You didn't want to do that, but I'm doing it.
Not impressed.
Hey, then you have to take an issue with Snake Eyes as well, because he came with Timber.
Want to borrow my lasso?
I don't want your lasso.
Come on. Want a fedora?
No, it's not comfortable with the headphones. I'm not talking about earbuds here. I'm talking about like over-ear cans.
You should come with a microphone.
Like a mobile podcasting setup as my action figure?
Yeah.
Nah, I would just get frustrated with myself. All right, guys. The Hillier family, excellent hearing from you. I hope to hear from the Padawans again. It was just brilliant to hear from you boys. And now Sebastian and Charlie, you know your dad's the first knight of the Star Wars Commonwealth. And with that comes almost unlimited power. So you have to be good to him. Next up, we have some Bradley banter. Hey guys, Bradley here, back this week with another Star Wars question. Now that it's official that the next Star Wars standalone movie will be a Kenobi film, do you think the chance of a Boba Fett film is all but over? So here's my thinking. If Fett shows up in the Kenobi film, there will not be a Fett film. That'll be our Boba Fett film. Do you think this will be the last of the Star Wars standalone films, or are we just getting warmed up? I think there will be more as long as they make money. I will say this, not completely convinced that even with monetary success on the big screen, we're guaranteed more standalone films. Also, I can see them taking a break after the Kenobi film. Do you think we'll get a trailer this month? Or are we possibly looking at October before we see one? Personally, I'm hoping for October, and I hope it's the only one we get. Thank you for airing my banter and including me in your show. And as always, may the force be with you. Cheers, Bradley Hall. That's at Bradley W. Hall on Twitter, everybody.
Yes, sir. Bradley. The Bradley banter, I think. All right. First of all, I want to say amazing singing voice once again. Thank you very much for that. It's always such a pleasure. When I saw that on Twitter that, he had caught wind of Tim's birthday and he was warming up the pipes, I was like, yes.
Yeah. I was so happy.
But
so happy to hear that.
Kyle, I'm going to need you to go ahead and break this question down for me, bro.
All right. So, it's not that hard. Question number 1. Do you think the chance of a Boba Fett film is all but over? What do you think, Corey?
No, I don't. Knowing that your question was coming a little later on, I didn't so much touch upon it on one of our the Kenobi thing we were talking about earlier. We had mentioned Bounty Hunter. Cad Bane kind of remained the subject, but I think it's open to Boba Fett as well. If Boba Fett's in the film, then yes, I would think that a film for him is unneeded at that point, especially if he's the main antagonist in this film. Then it's both their films in that regard.
I agree with that. I don't think the chances of Boba Fett movie are gone by any stretch. I think that's still too tempting for Lucasfilm for a bunch of reasons. I don't personally want it. I don't think we need it. I don't want it. But again, I see the appeal. But I also don't see a place for him in the Kenobi movie, frankly. I think, like I said, if you're going to put a bounty hunter in there, use Bane for all kinds of historic reasons. And just, it keeps things tidy. If you put Fett in there, things get messy, dude. Like, Vader could have a relationship with Fett. And the minute Fett catches on to Kenobi, guess what? Vader's going to know. And that can't happen.
If you get Bane and Boba Fett in this film, though, maybe it's just more a matter of pride than anything.
Yeah. Well,
they both they really don't care. I don't think Boba Fett, maybe he does hold a grudge against the Jedi for lopping his daddy's head off.
Well, he has a big grudge. Remember how he went after Windu?
Oh yeah, big time. But who knows? Maybe he got over it, a little more mature. But we know him and Cad Bane, at one point they should have came to a face-off, being, who's the alpha bounty hunter in the galaxy.
Yep. And that never made it to screen. So maybe it comes back to life in another format. Maybe this is it. I do agree with Bradley's opinion that Fett ought to be used as sort of a cameo or supporting character as part of an ensemble movie, and in my opinion, not lead in his own film. We just don't need it. But I've mentioned this before. Like, I had that long, winding theory about how the Han Solo movie and a potential Kenobi movie and a potential Bounty Hunter movie all loosely tie together as a Western anthology. I think that would be perfect. A perfect venue for Boba Fett is to make him part of a cast of bounty hunters. And maybe he's a standout in that movie. Of course he would be. But like, we've always known him as a man of few words, right? He spoke more in later years, especially in the Clone Wars as a younger man. But I would think that as we got closer to the OT, there's not a whole lot of talking going on. It's just action.
Yeah, he's the man at that point. He's the alpha at that point. He doesn't need to talk all that much. People talk to him.
Yeah. So anyway, that's again. So no, my official answer
I love
is
that.
no.
I love that.
This does not ruin or end the chance of a Boba Fett movie. I would hope so. I don't need it, but I think it's still on the table, and it will be until forever, until they do it. It's going to be a possibility.
And just quickly, I want to say that I love that whole Western anthology theory that you had, Kyle. Like, I don't know if it's going to play out because we don't know. I wouldn't see how Han Solo can possibly play into it all, but it would be awesome if that was a, what do you call it? And like an unwritten trilogy, or
almost like in a Tarantino way, right? Like or a Kevin Smith way. They all kind of mesh together. They don't necessarily reference each other, directly. Like the things happen and they overlap and events sort of intermingle. But it's not like the plot points bleed together. It's just that
And it
you're
can
in the
even
same
almost
world.
like it can almost lead into Rogue One too at that point.
Sure, it could touch somehow on that as well. But yeah, I love the idea of taking 3 standalone films as a chunk and saying this is sort of the Star Wars Western anthology. I think that would work really, really well. Especially if Han Solo ends up being a bit of a heist movie. You know, think of the Western movies. Think of Back to the Future 3 with the heist on the train. There have been more serious takes on that, robbing a train type thing. But imagine that in Han Solo. Like that, I think there's something there. I think a Western anthology as a homage, tribute to George Lucas and his love for Westerns. I think there's something there that could possibly come together quite nicely.
Well, I like the whole, what you had said before about the Kenobi film anyhow, in the Lawrence of Arabia thing. Mix that in with a little Western as well, a little Kurosawa.
Yeah, I think that ends up being an epic movie. And it could be viewed from so many, I think that would be a Star Wars movie if done well. That's always the caveat. If done well, that could be a movie that could see some Oscar action and in some of the big categories. Like I could see Ewan McGregor for Best Actor. Maybe even this could be up for I want to float as high as saying Best Picture, but now that they do it seems like every movie gets nominated now. I think they have 9 nominees for Best Picture.
No.
Yeah. Take a look at the nominee list for the last Oscars. There were so many. It's
usually I thought it would be about 6. No,
I thought it used to be 5, I believe, but it's been virtually doubled. And my keyboard is just out of reach, so I need my lazy stick. Damn it!
Where's my toy?
Someone get on that. So I'm not going to Google it, but yeah, I think done well, a 3-hour epic Obi-Wan movie that encompasses all kinds of stuff like the Force and my mind just goes crazy with the possibilities, and to see it maybe hauling in some Oscar noms, bring it on, man. But anyway, this is about bounty hunters. Anyway, question number 2. Do you think this will be the last of the Star Wars standalone films, or are we just getting warmed up? This is a layup for me. The fat lady is just warming up her voice.
Oh, hell yeah. I kind of got it written down in another way. What did I say here? Yeah, they're just hitting their stride in this regard. I mean, we've seen a bit of turmoil.
A bit.
Things a bit tumultuous, but, again, they're getting used to it. It's not an easy task to deal with Star Wars fandom, as I've realized, becoming a part of it in the past year and a half and seeing how fickle it is, and just wow, being quite surprised, very surprised. But, yeah, I mean, it is a delicate topic, even for people like myself. Granted, I wasn't necessarily on social media and I wasn't expressing my thoughts and opinions, but I do have strong opinions on stuff like that. And, it's they got to think long and hard before making an investment in a film. For many, many reasons.
Oh, sure. Yeah, they don't come to these decisions easily. I mean, there's a lot of consideration that goes into it. But I mean, again, they know that we as fans are just such a bunch of zombies that they can do almost anything. They could do a Greedo movie, and we would still probably be there opening night with bells on. We'll go stand in the freezing cold, the brain shrinking cold, to go see a Greedo movie for some reason.
A Star Wars grindhouse.
We're there. All right, so yeah, they're totally just getting started as far as standalones go. Maybe they'll slow down the pace at some point, but I don't think they're going through all these issues with hammering out, throwing out directors, bringing in another person. I think they're working out a process, and once they perfect it, I think this is just going to go on for a long, long time. I think they'll take some kind of break, whether it's 3 years or 5 years from the episodic films. But I think that gap will be filled with standalone films.
Yeah, maybe like a 2-year gap, maybe. But I hope they work out the formula in the sense that it's got to go. We know we're getting a character film now with Han Solo, possibly Obi-Wan. Looks like, chances are all signs point to yes. But, Rogue One wasn't character based in the sense that it was all new characters. We saw some characters that we had seen from the past, keeping us in our comfort zone, but they still got to be able to come up with stories like that as well, instead of relying solely on old characters. Like, frankly, I don't want to see a Yoda film. Stuff like that, like they gotta maybe do a Rogue Squadron movie, or...
I would like to see them do something a little bit new. I don't want them just to keep leaning on these characters. I've said something a long time ago, multiple times, that I feel like they're taking us as OT era fans, like hanging us from our ankles and just shaking all the money out of our pockets before we decide that, you know what, I'm a little bit old for this Star Wars thing now. My money is going to other priorities. I'm still a fan, but I'm more passive at this point. I feel like that's what they're doing. So everything is set in the OT right now, and that's aimed at people like us.
Oh, hell yeah.
And at some point, they'll move into Dr. Aphra, maybe Ahsoka standalones. But for now, it feels like they're doing all these familiar faces like Yoda, Boba Fett. Like I'm ready for them to move past that and just skip right to the new part. But again, we keep hearing over and over the same names coming up, and it seems inevitable that we're going to get the things that we say we don't want, but we know will be there anyway for. Okay. Lastly, from Bradley, do you think we will get a trailer this month, or are we looking at possibly October before we see one? So I'm with Bradley. As he said, we're not getting a trailer until October. I'm fine with that. I don't need a whole lot more about The Last Jedi. I want to go in as fresh as possible. Give me the 2.5-minute trailer in October, just like you did for Rogue One, just like you did for for The Force Awakens. They all seem to be following a similar pattern, and I don't see them breaking away. What do you think, Corey?
I think this time around it's a bit different for me than watching The Force Awakens. I feel I haven't been spoiled, and again, nothing to me in my head has really been confirmed and all that, but I definitely know a lot more about this film than I do The Force Awakens. So that's kind of a bit weird. Yeah, a lot more.
Like, I don't know any plot points really from The Last Jedi.
Well, The Force Awakens, I was 100% in the dark. It was pre-podcast.
Yeah, that's true.
I was not on Twitter. My Facebook feed was never filled with that back then. I would sometimes go onto the IMDb forums and talk, But before this, yeah, I mean, it was just you and I, and you, if anything, it was you saying, "Hey, did you catch this or that?" But going into The Force Awakens, I was like blind. I knew characters, I knew this and that, but I didn't really know anything. But at this point, I feel like I know quite a bit that I'm able to kind of, once I see the movie, they'll be like, okay, it makes sense from everything that we've heard. But okay, in regards to the trailer, I'm 100% on the same page as you guys. October, that's what I've heard from some big names in Twitter fandom, like good sources that usually don't let down, don't disappoint. It harkens back to last year as well. So, yeah, it makes sense. And I'm okay with it 100%. And that's all I want to see too. Like at this point, I've like you just said, Kyle, I've had enough. Like I've had my fill. I'm ready, as even Mark Hamill and Rian Johnson, they've all suggested, like, go dark. Like it's hard to do when we run a podcast.
Well, I think we've done a decent job. Like, we haven't covered a lot of the spoiler reports for The Last Jedi. In fact, we haven't done it in months. I mean, we've talked about things that have been officially released, the EW stuff, But anything I think that is sanctioned from Lucasfilm, that's fair game. That's no longer spoiler stuff to me. But it's like
100%, I agree with you there. And they want to keep us in the dark, and for the most part, they do a pretty good job.
Like there's a synopsis out there for the entire movie, and from what I've heard, it's pretty accurate. And I had it. I saw it, and I read the first couple paragraphs, and I go, what am I doing? And I backed away, and I haven't gone back to it. I don't know the link anymore. I don't want to see it, because I have faith that it's pretty accurate. I don't want to know. So I'm in that regard, I'm okay sounding like a fool talking about.
Where do you find this stuff? Like, I'm on the same, I'm on Twitter, and
Birdie's whisper in my ear. Porg's whisper in my ear.
I see.
No, and I wasn't going to share that with you either, because I know that you might be too tempted to go read it, and then you'd come to this podcast and not reveal it, but your opinions would be colored by what you've read.
I wouldn't do that, to be honest. I'm when I read that quote from Mark Hamill, just saying, like, if it were him, like, he would refrain from future information that they have a feeling he's gonna drop.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm trying to do that now. I'm trying to stay away from reveals that are not officially sanctioned stuff. So there you go, Bradley. October, baby. Let's go with that. Maybe they'll do it on like a Monday Night Football featuring the Cowboys. All right. So Bradley, thank you, sir. At Bradley W. Hall, everybody. Check out Bradley.
Bradley, are you a Cowboys fan, Bradley?
Oh, are you kidding me? Do we even have to ask that question?
I'm asking the question.
He's a half hour outside of Texas or outside of Dallas. I think it's mandated by state law that he has to be a Cowboys fan. How do you feel about Romo leaving, Bradley? Anyway, thank you, Bradley. I can't wait to hear what you have next week for us. Have a good week, sir. Although I know we'll be talking. Jeffrey's up next, and a shout out to Jeffrey. Congratulations, sir. You've just announced that you're starting your own podcast with a co-host called the CantoCast. So I have followed at CantoCast on Twitter, and everybody should do the same, because Jeffrey's a good guy. He's one of the good guys out there. Very supportive of many, many Star Wars podcasts and podcasters. And Jeffrey, I'm definitely looking forward to hearing that show come to life. So keep us posted, will you?
Yeah, I think it might have dropped already. I've been I heard about it as well, and I'm super happy for you, Jeffrey. Like, go for it, bro. Like, you can definitely do it, because out of everyone I know, you're listening to as the most Star Wars podcasts I can say of anyone I know.
Jeffrey listens to a lot of Star Wars podcasts. A lot. And we appreciate it, Jeffrey. We definitely appreciate your question. And it goes a little like this. So, hey, my friend, here's another question for the Binary Sunset segment. See, he even knows the name. He's even picked up on the name of this segment. What is your first Star Wars memory? In other words, what made you a Star Wars fan? A little add-on question. Would love to hear a good childhood Star Wars story between you and Corey. All right, Corey, I think you and I both share the same first Star Wars memory. And I think we've spoken about it on this podcast once or twice before. But very quickly, in summary, 1984, in the basement of our cousin's house. What do you do when you have to calm down 4 kids from the ages of 3 or 4 years old up until 7 years oldish?
Yeah, it's 3 to 7. My cousin was 3, I was 4, you were 6, and our oldest cousin was 7.
A madhouse. 4 hyperactive little boys running around tearing the house apart. What do? You put on this little flick called Star Wars. And from the opening seconds, like the way the whole opening is just constructed, from the Fox fanfare, that was amazing. And then there's silence as A Long Time Ago comes on screen. And then bang, the Star Wars logo on screen. And the music just shakes you. And then the visuals of the Star Destroyer and the Corellian Corvette, it was just unlike anything I had ever seen. Of course, I was 6 years old. What had I seen? But it had a similar effect on many grown-ups at that time. So,
and at that time as well, like me being 4 years old at the time, I couldn't tell you how many other movies I had really actually watched aside from animated films and whatnot. So this being like this adult film with like, it was just right away like, whoa.
No, it sunk its hook in permanently, deeply at that very moment. It was all over, gone, over. Like lifetime fans from that minute forward.
And happily to say, our cousins as well.
Yeah, no, they as well. Like it affected all of us in the same way. Everything, the spaceships, the droids, the troopers, Vader. 3 minutes in, game over for this kid. Childhood memories. You know what? I guess it wasn't always like unicorns and rainbows.
I just want to touch back on this one last thing for what Jeffrey had just touched upon or asked. The cool thing about that, Jeffrey, is that the age that I am, I mean, I didn't get to see these movies in theater and whatnot, but Kyle just said we saw this first one in 84. And I think we probably saw Empire in about 85, and it was at a friend's house. We had also talked about this on one of the pods prior, but we saw it in a parent's friend's basement. Again, they left us down in this creepy, conducive to Empire basement where it was like this 80s basement where there was a lot of glass and blacks and grays.
And blues. It was very, like, the color palette of the basement, and it was very dark and moody down there. It very much fit the aesthetic of, especially, like, the Bespin scenes. That's what sticks out to me.
Well, I would definitely remember that, and I definitely remember being scared and not being able to watch it all. And then even Empire, when Empire, I think it was about 86 by the time I finally got around to that, and I was like, whoa, there's like one more Star Wars movie, like, this is awesome, like, and we actually watched it with our mom. I think our father was away on business or something, because I know he wasn't home. But yeah, we watched it on a summer's eve, and I just remember the Ewoks. That's pretty much the only thing I really remember. But I definitely remember being super excited and renting the VHS in the store and being like, oh my God, we're watching Star Wars tonight. We love Star Wars. But once the Ewoks came onto the screen, that's the one thing that I can kind of remember. And then I remember watching it as well, also from that same house, not being able to watch the scenes where the scarier scenes, especially where like Luke was getting zapped by the Emperor. It was an unfinished basement, and I'd be like watching it, and I'd be like, I'm just gonna walk upstairs for a few minutes and like listen, then walk back down after it was all done.
In the same way you skipped out on that movie with your buddy?
Yeah, and also I watched Jaws with my dad because I had an obsession with sharks when I was young. I watched Jaws with him, and he left me downstairs again in this unfinished basement while watching Jaws, and he goes to the bathroom. So he tells this story all the time because he's in the bathroom and I'm standing right behind him. Like, he had no idea I followed him, but I was like, there's no way in hell you're leaving me down here.
Yeah, Jedi is I don't remember watching Jedi for the first time. Like all the movies, they were just there. They're just like our parents, like anything. They were just always there. I mean, we watched the hell out of those movies, like everybody listening, right? Other childhood stories from our Star Wars fandom. I feel like we kind of celebrated Star Wars almost like in isolation. Like, I don't have friends really that were as nearly as much into Star Wars as I was. So from that perspective, it was, if I wasn't playing Star Wars with you, it was with myself, or not at all.
Yeah, I got you there too. Like, I mean, I think both of us have a handful of friends that are into it, just not to that degree. Like, I had Billito, Mike McManus was one of your buddies that was kind of super into it.
Yeah, but I mean, that was only when we became, like, at least for me anyway, like almost like a teenager. Talking like as a 7-year-old, 8-year-old, it was our cousins that we saw only a few times a year. ourselves, you and I, and that's really it. And it's weird that how Star Wars hung on for you and I, and it speaks to the quality of the story that's told and how the movies are made. We got into it as sort of the dark age of Star Wars was starting, and as you know, as toys were kind of making their slow exit from retail, and the dark times, like Gen X Wing did a podcast about the dark times, surviving the dark times of Star Wars. That's when we got into Star Wars, and yet it's still bit us and poisoned us in the best possible way.
And that's one of the cool things too. Just touching back on that. I guess these were the peg warmers back then, but my God, I still remember it must have been 85, 86, and I was probably about 6 years old, and there were still tons of Star Wars toys on shelves that today sell for ridiculous amounts of money, and I feel like such a fool. But I remember, like, my parents, I still have it. I'm looking at it right now. It's my Rancor. It's damaged slightly. He's missing a bit of his jaw. But I remember I grabbed it in the store and I was like, Mom, Dad, I want this. And I must have been 6 years old, and they were like, you can have it. And I was like, you got to be kidding me. They're like, yep, you can have it.
There's probably a liquidation
because it was
sticker
probably
on
marked
it.
down to like, exactly. It was marked down to like $2.
Oh, jeez. Imagine. Ridiculous. No, I do remember going to stores at that time, and it was sort of the last of the Return of the Jedi toys. So I remember Gamorrean guards on shelves, and I remember Jabba's, the denizens of his palace.
Bib Fortuna.
Yeah, all those guys. I remember those guys clearly on pegs.
Yep. Lando.
And those guys made up the bulk of our collection. I mean, unless we somehow got our hands on A New Hope Luke or Kenobi, we didn't have those toys a lot. They predated us. So most of our collection came from the Jedi series.
Well, you actually had the A New Hope Luke Skywalker.
Oh, I had the Bespin as well, with the yellow saber that I lost.
This is another memory that I have from back in the day. Like, my grandmother did this to teach me a lesson. Like, she was obviously lying, but it was your birthday, and we were in Verdun, and it's like 84, and I still remember this, man, because she kind of traumatized me a bit. But she gave you your birthday present, and I was like kind of cool with it. I was like, jealous brother, like I want a toy too, kind of, But then I saw that there was a toy in her purse. Like, she'd obviously gotten it for me, And I was like, yeah, a toy for me. And you know what it was? A New Hope Vader. Like, in box, bro. And she was like, and she told me straight up, she's like, that's not for you. That's for another boy that I'm going to their party after. And I'm like, what? Like, what do you mean? Whose party? Like, and then I pretty much started crying and stuff. And she gave it to me, but she made me feel bad for giving it to me.
Being gaslit by your grandma.
Yeah. But, dude, those were A New Hope. Because I remember your Luke was the white Luke.
No, I did have that. And like I said, I had the Bespin Luke. I don't remember having the black robes from Jedi Luke.
Boba Fett. We definitely had Boba Fett.
Yeah, we had a bunch of Chewies. Like I said, a lot of Jabba's palace guys.
AT-8 AT-AT drivers, or the Walker drivers, anyway. The chicken walkers.
Yep. We had an X-Wing. We had the Falcon. We had a Land Speeder.
Yeah, that's it. The Land Speeder was A New Hope.
But it could have been repackaged for Jedi. I'm not sure. Anyway.
Yeah, we had all kinds.
I don't think we had as much as we might think.
No, you're right. But one time, Jeffrey, I'll tell you a good story. I think I told this once again on another pod, but you're going to want to hear this one. We were in our teens, and it's the build up to the Phantom Menace. Like, this is one of the better part. Like, these memories are the best memories for me, I think. No, not really. The young ones are great too, but just, we were in the dark times, as Gen X Wing had said. There was nothing. We didn't expect anything, and then we got the THX version on VHS, And Kyle and I were freaking out over this thing. We're like, yeah, we're going to buy it first day. We're like, him and I both saved up our money back in the day. Like, I think I was like maybe 12 or 13.
1995.
And
so,
that's a lot of...
Yeah, you were 14.
Yeah, that's the THX,
Yep.
right? So that's a lot of money for me back then to save up for a trilogy, like all by myself. My parents were like, no, if you want that, like buy it yourself, you know? So we both bought our own editions. And like, that's like, we knew at that point that the movies were coming out, and it just started hyping up from there. We'd go garage sailing and we'd find all this cool stuff. Our grandparents would find stuff. And then one time I had this guy at school that was like, yeah, like, well, my dad found, or, you know, like, got a whole bunch of Star Wars toys. And this is as we were a bit older in high school. So this kid was kind of looking for money, and I was like, I'm your man. Like, hook me up. And I was like, yeah, just come. Like, I'm like, give me whatever, and I'll give you, like, he was like, just give me $5. And he gave me like not a garbage bag, but a grocery bag, like, with full of Star Wars toys for $5.
I remember that.
All original. And then I was like, okay, hook me up again next week. I'll give you $10. And he did it again. And we got, I think he gave us a land speeder. He gave us a Tauntaun. Just oodles of original trilogy stuff. And I was freaking out. And he had the carrying case of Vader's helmet. And I was going after that. And then his dad, or his...
It was his foster dad.
His foster dad, Dave, like, cut him at the knees there and was like, stop, no, stop, you know, stop bleeding.
Did you give away all my
But,
stuff?
uh-oh. Yeah, so anyway, like, I gathered all this stuff up, and I had all this stuff, and Kyle and I at that time, we were kind of, it was a shared collection, more or less. But we knew whose was whose, and we were buying books, we were buying everything we could get our hands on. All our money was going towards Star Wars, mostly in our teenage years. We were buying books and just
Well, yeah, because
everything.
I had gone from comics as a kid, then into sports cards, and once the sport card industry collapsed on itself, that coincided with the launch of, well, the THX movies. The Star Wars machine was starting to heat up again, because we knew that the special editions were coming by that point, and we knew that also the prequels were coming. So slowly things were starting to come back into the mainstream, and along with that came the Power of the Force figures. Series 2. And I remember the day we went to, we were going to visit our aunt and uncle, not the same ones that at the top of this story, but a different set of aunt and uncle. And on the way there, we stopped at this new chain that had opened in Canada called Walmart. It was a new thing at that time in 95. And I knew that these new Star Wars toys had come out, and we were going to get them. And I remember walking out of there with the original 8 figures, you know, the bulked up, muscular ones that looked a little bit more like He-Man than Star Wars. And I remember looking,
Leia looks like an ape.
terrible. All of them were just terrible. But I remember getting them and being so happy that new Star Wars figures were on the pegs. Bummed out, yes, that they looked stupid, but they were back, and I was so proud of those toys. And like that's a tentpole moment in I think our fandom. I'll never forget that.
Oh, Star Wars was back, baby. We knew the movies were coming. The special editions were going to hit theaters and re-release, and there's going to be all kinds of new footage. It was like, it was madness, I tell you.
And like all my reading had gone from comics to reading the EU stuff, starting with Timothy Zahn and then working my way through until Vector Prime, until I learned the terrible secret of Chewie's death, and I dropped it like a hot potato. The entire EU, threw dirt on it, never went back. Here's another quick story.
Whoa, I want to finish mine first. I want to touch back on this. So like I gathered up all these toys, Jeffrey, from this kid, and then I was probably about 15 or 16, and I was doing something in the house that I shouldn't have been doing. And Kyle comes into the house, and he's like, I know what you've been doing. And I'm like, oh, okay, whatever, bro. Like, just leave me alone, you know? And he's like, no, I'm not going to leave it alone. And then next thing you know, it's like headlights. My parents are pulling into the driveway. So I got like 30 seconds to make my decision here. He's like, and I know Kyle would have done it too.
I would have.
He was like, oh, I'm going to rat you out right now. And I was like, don't. He's like, yeah, okay, well, I won't, but...
you realize that
give me all
either
your
way,
Star
it
Wars
wouldn't
toys.
have mattered, because there was a very pungent aroma.
Well, either way, I didn't get busted. They didn't... I didn't get busted, but either way, Kyle was like, "Give me all your Star Wars toys, or
you're
like,
done."
I'm pointing it out, and then I was like, I have no choice. Like I gotta succumb to your blackmail. And then about 2 years later, he kept using that. It was like a button for him. Like Then at a point, I just blurted it out, and I told my parents, like, "This is what I did this one night." Blah 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 blah. And they were just like, looked at me like I was crazy and didn't say a word. They were like, "Okay."
What are we gonna do about it now?
Yeah. So that was a good one.
Yeah. Well, like you mentioned, the 95 VHS set, that whole year was nuts. The special edition releases was nuts. We've talked about that before. Won't go back there now. But I remember as a kid, I had this belt-fed dart gun. To me, the belt had a million darts in it, but probably had maybe tops 30. And I used to go in the basement by myself and watch Empire and set up. It had like a little stand, almost like a tripod at the end of the barrel. And I used to sit there and I'd crouch down and I'd aim this gun at the TV. And like during the Battle of Hoth, I'd pretend to be a rebel soldier during the battle on Hoth. And I'd shoot darts like crazy at the screen, hoping to hit walkers. And I remember I used to do that over and over and over. That memory sticks out like crazy to me.
That's awesome.
So,
Captain Power.
Yeah. I'll tell you something though, Corey. 2 things you missed out on. The Empire cons in 1999. You fool. Oh.
That's where you won the Trivial Pursuit, no?
Indeed. I did win that there. But these things were sort of emblematic, a little bit of my Star Wars experience as a kid, young adult. Like I said, I didn't have friends who were into Star Wars, so I went to 2 Star Wars cons, not like comic cons with Star Wars in it. These were exclusively Star Wars conventions. And I'll never forget the first time I went up. This is before I think it was January of 99. So before The Phantom Menace comes out. So fever pitch levels of excitement for a new era of Star Wars. I will never forget going up the escalator to the main hall, and I'd never been to a con of any kind, so I wasn't sure what to expect. But the sensory overload once I got into the hall was just, I can't believe I didn't have a stroke right then and there. It was just wall to wall to wall Star Wars as far as the eye could see. Vintage stuff everywhere. Like anything you could think of Star Wars, it was there. And it was just madness. My brain was exploding. And they had another one at the end of 1999, which had a bit of a different feel because there was, I think, some disappointment over The Phantom Menace. But nevertheless, like it was still madness. To do 2 of those in 1 year in Montreal was incredible. What a year that was for me.
Do those still exist?
No, it was only those 2, and then the guy that did them, I don't know what happened to him. His comic shop closed up, and that was it. That was it. Both conventions were in the same place. They were the same sort of structure both times. I had VIP passes for both. Had dinner with Star Wars alumni, not at the same table, but fantastic experiences. Fantastic. So last thing, Jeffrey. So my friends and I go camping this one time, and we stop at this. Maybe we're getting gas at this really mom and pop, run down, old school gas station, and they have a shed in the back. And so we're just hanging out, grabbing a bite to eat, getting some gas, and I walk into the shed, and it's full of junk. It's like a swap meet. But by the door is a box full of records. And this is, 1998 or so. I'm flipping through this box of records, and what is staring back at me but the soundtrack to A New Hope? And, like, it's like getting punched in the face. So I take it out, and I'm pretending like it's no big deal, but I'm kind of quaking at the knees. I'm like, how much for this? $5. Done. Like that was my food money for the weekend. Here you go. Instead of buying 2,
you should have totally told him $250.
I wasn't gonna push it.
expect it.
I was not going to push it, so I was like, done. So that, instead of buying 2 packages of hot dogs for the weekend, which would have been all my meals, here you go. Here's your $5. I will take this forever. And inside, and I still have it, is the poster. It came with a poster, and it's still in mint shape. It's beautiful. It's weird, but it's beautiful. So yeah, that's another Star Wars story that I'll never forget. I can't believe I found that for $5, and it still plays really well. It sounds terrific. So yeah, Jeffrey, there you go. A lot of stories of our Star Wars fandom as kids, not necessarily all together, but you got a big cross section of big Star Wars moments. So again, thank you, Jeffrey, at CantoCast. Follow that, everybody. Jeffrey's going to have a new podcast soon. And finally, we'll end the show with the inimitable, irreplaceable Katie. And Katie this week says, with this week being the 9th anniversary of the Clone Wars movie and the introduction of Ahsoka, what is your favorite Ahsoka moment? And would you guys like to see an anthology movie about her? All right, Corey. Snips. Give me your favorite snip moment.
Well, I thought about it quite extensively, to be honest, Katie. At a point, I had to Google it, but my answers really didn't change. There was 1 or 2 maybe that popped up to me after, but having looked at on the internet. But I mean, Twilight of the Apprentice comes to mind right away. It's the first one that comes to my mind. I can't remember. Oh, what was the name of that episode? There's an episode of Rebels where she goes up against 2 Inquisitors.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful moment. Like, she's just like shuts them down. You had mentioned it earlier, Kyle. Like, she just shuts them down.
Oh yeah, she absolutely smokes the 2 of them. They don't even get close to laying a hand on her.
There's leaving the Jedi Order, obviously.
Yeah, all those moments are on my list as well. And it's sort of a slap in the face to Clone Wars, which, we're talking about the 9th anniversary. All my favorite Ahsoka moments, and I don't know if it's because they're the freshest, but they're all in Rebels. Just seeing her return. We knew that Fulcrum was Ahsoka, but just that moment of seeing her come down the ladder from the Ghost cockpit, that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. Big
just
to hear her say,
her
my
return
name is Ahsoka
was
Tano.
big, huge.
Her return was just, I knew it was coming. We all knew it was coming, but just to finally see it, I almost burst into tears. It was just a spine-tingling moment.
I wasn't 100% sure at that time. I know we were podcasting together at that point, and you were like, you don't think her voice sounds strangely familiar? And I'm like, her voice? And I'm like, and then you would get explained out another podcast had broken it down and figured out it was a female voice. But it took me to see it to be like, wow, this is it. But if you want to talk about favorite episodes, there was an arc I watched not too long ago, and I've gone back to it, and I'd seen it before too. It's the arc with the Trandoshans.
Damn it, you stole my thunder.
Oh, it's a good one because you really see her maturity level grow in that one. Like she grows through a lot in that. Plus, we see Chewie.
Yep.
But,
I thought that was a bit too much. Like, really? Are we going to make the universe that small that Ahsoka and Chewie fought together? Okay.
Their planets are side by side, but
are they?
Yeah. Yeah, they're very close in proximity, the 2 planets. That's why it made sense in that episode for him to come.
Okay. Okay, yes, I mean, I think our favorite moments kind of overlap. Her leaving the Jedi Order. It was a really rough moment. I wasn't really expecting it, and then she did it, and then my wife and I were almost like sobbing. She can't leave. It can't end like this. And I think that wasn't at the end of the Clone Wars.
Yep.
So the series kind of just ended on a real downer with Ahsoka gone. But it spoke to her, again, her maturity and her resolve to just do what she felt she needed to do for herself. Like it took guts to not only like walk away from her master, who she clearly loved, but to walk away from this intimidating presence known as the Jedi Order. Like,
Oh yeah, big time.
yeah.
It just bodes so much for the character as well. Like really, like leaves so many doors open. Like, I mean, this isn't the way they wanted to end the series, but it is the way they ended the series. And thank the maker that they brought her back in Rebels, because that was just amazing.
Oh, well,
And she's back in the fold now, and her fate is still super open-ended.
Ahsoka lives.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so lastly here, yes to an Ahsoka anthology movie?
Yeah, I think if Dave Filoni gets his hands on it and he has a master plan as to what he wants to do with her, I would want to see it, but it's gotta be good. Like, it's gotta be, I know it's a loophole and all that, but it's gotta do the character justice, and this character does need justice. That's the whole thing of the thing, right? Is everything's open-ended right now. Twilight was great, but it was an open-ended ending. So we don't know, again, what is going on with this character, and fandom wants to in a big way. So it just can't be something super simple. It has to be something big.
Yeah, well, and that's, like, to quote Han, that's the real trick, isn't it? Like, as much as I would love to see an Ahsoka movie, there's a tricky part to this, in including characters like Ahsoka, and I'll expand that outward to Obi-Wan, like we spoke about earlier. Like, there's an expectation that they'll do their Jedi lightsaber thing, that they're going to be jumping around, twirling around, and taking people apart with lightsabers. But it's tough. It's tough to do that because, at least to the extent that we want, because that they really risk exposing themselves and outing themselves, right? So, for example, Twin Sons. It worked out and it made sense. And at first we had that moment where that's it. But yeah, I mean, you've got to be careful with how crazy you get with those moments, because the characters are serving a role as Jedi, or quasi Jedi in Ahsoka's case. Like, they can't be out there in public. They just can't. Like, they've established in canon that they're in hiding, that they're protecting this element of their character. And even in the Ahsoka movie, or sorry, the Ahsoka novel, she's taken on the mantle of Fulcrum at the end and recruiting rebels for Bail Organa. That could be the premise of an Ahsoka movie. But does that give you the opportunity to see Ahsoka do her thing in the way that you would want to? You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It's a tough one. Yeah. But I would definitely like to see it. And I agree with Corey that Dave Filoni should be the guy to do it. Anyway, I do think that there's something to the effect, or to the fact that the Ahsoka novel featured like Obi-Wan interludes. I think there's something to that. I don't think that that's there by accident. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I feel like maybe there's still something for these two characters to do together at some point in the future. I really do believe that. I'd love to see that. So, Katie, I'm absolutely a yes to an Ahsoka movie. But that's with the caveat that it's a tricky thing to do. That
I couldn't agree with you more. And what time period do you choose? Which Ahsoka do you choose?
I mean, do you adapt
Like,
Siege of Mandalore? And so you can have Ahsoka versus Darth Maul?
No, not even. I mean, Ahsoka Darth Maul is not even like a big thing for me anymore. Lady Tano.
No, I mean that's it. Like, Maul's old news, right? Let's move on from Darth Maul.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, I want to see the future of Ahsoka. Like, I think there's so much more for her, having been through the experiences that she's gone through, and again through Twilight. Those 8 tops cards just keep speaking to me. Like, I think she's gone through something transcendental. Like, she's very, wise, to say the least.
Oh yeah. No, she's a very sage person at this point. That would be.
She could almost be like another Yoda-esque character moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, she's a voice of reason at this point. But again, you got to find something for her to do, and you got to there's got to be a way for her to keep it quiet, because nobody knows really that she's around except for Bail, and eventually, the Ghost crew, and that's getting close to A New Hope time. Now maybe I don't know. It's a real tough one. I'm absolutely open to seeing it because I love the character. She's a top 3 character in all of Star Wars for me. So bring it on. Bring it on is my response to that. Katie, thank you. Love that question. Anything to do with Ahsoka, I would gladly talk about. And with that, we come to the end of episode 89. And I had a lot of fun talking Star Wars with you today, Corey. We went all over the place. Holy jeez, we went all over the place.
Yeah, we went long, bro. Big bro, we did it, man.
Yeah, man. Like we had Jeffrey's question was a holdover from last week, and there's a couple questions that I've got that are already being pushed over to episode 90. I'm already looking forward to episode 90. Usually I look forward to podcasting every week, but I already know some things what we're talking about in episode 90, and I'm super amped about that already. And we haven't even hit any news yet.
Yeah, exactly. The week is not even begun.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for listening, everybody. And special thanks to Ads and Charlie and Sebastian. Way to go, boys. Great to hear from you guys. Also to Bradley, Jeffrey, Katie. Thank you guys again for making this one of the most fun pods to record in a while. So Corey, where can people find you on social media?
All right, man. It's been a while. Let me warm up. You can all find me at Chop Rules with a Z.
And if you listen closely, you can hear Bradley doing that with you from Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, everybody, check out StarWarsCommonwealth.com. Go check out all the great shows. Everybody is just cranking out great content there. Amazing stuff going on at the Star Wars Commonwealth. And again, don't forget, we're giving away that really cool Tusken Raider 40th anniversary figure. If you want to be a part of that giveaway, you got to be a member of our Powerful Friends program. You can find details for that on the website, tumblingsaber.com. Look at the top of the page for the Powerful Friends link, or just go to patreon.com/tumblingsaber. You get all the details there, $2, $3 a month, whatever you can afford to give. We'll get you some cool exclusives, including giveaways like this Tusken Raider. And
that's a big one.
It's a big
Come
one.
on.
If you win, that will cover you for a year. And right now you have respectable chances right now. It's a pretty small community, but we're going to grow, and we love the people that are already here. And so we want to kick things off with a nice prize for people who really, really deserve it. So again, patreon.com/tumblingsaber. And thank you in advance if you decide to sign up. And stay tuned. Later this week, Corey and I are going to be back with Sith Disturbers. One more for the public before we put that show underground for our awesome, powerful friends. And lastly, if you want to help us out in other ways, if you don't want to do the Patreon thing, then just head on over to iTunes, now called Apple Podcasts, or Stitcher, wherever you're listening to podcasts. Leave us a review, like Steve from San Diego Saber Podcast did, who gave us a 5-star review with a Z. I've become big fans of listening to Kyle, Corey, and James, and Steve. They have a great time doing their podcast, and it really shows. Kyle does his best to keep everything under control, and does quite well, in spite of Corey. But that just keeps it fun, and that's what I love in a podcast. A show that is fun to listen to, and hear the hosts having fun. It's definitely hard to keep any podcast going over time, but they've done an awesome job keeping the topics timely, interesting, and engaging. Definitely worth your time listening to them. Steve, kinder words and truer words were never spoken. Thank you, sir. And that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed this 2+ hour bonanza of Star Wars, and we'll talk to y'all later.
watching you walking away from me? Were you watching me